Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Neto. I am with Starin. Starin is a distributor. We're based out of Indiana, and I work in New Jersey. Our parent company is based out of the UK. It's a company called Midwich. We provide all different types of services on the commercial end and even on the residential side over in the UK. In order to tell about my story, I have to tell you about who I am and what I'm doing up here, right? So I got into the AV industry just like everybody else. There was no plan. It just happens, right? And what I discovered coming into the industry was that you don't have a set course in how you will elevate your career. There's no guidebook. There's no college class. There's no, if you start as a technician, you become a junior technician and a senior technician, and you go into engineering. It's kind of the Wild West. So one of the things that I discovered very early on was that I have to be my own advocate for things that I wanted to do. I'm ambitious. I wanted to do something different. What do? So in 1998 is when I entered the space, and I got into video conferencing. Not one video conferencing manufacturer probably is here, but video conferencing back then was a $150,000 tool that you bought into the corporate space. That was the days before the Zoom and the Microsoft Teams and all that. Did that for a while and realized that, you know what, I want to get into other things. So I have said in a couple other conversations that I have my MMA and AV at this point. I have done every job. I've worked in every different types of facet of AV, okay? So I was an installer. I was a project manager. I've been a salesperson. I've been an inside salesperson. I worked for manufacturer. I worked for distributor, which I am now. And I spent 13 years on site as an end user. What did that mean? A lot of people in the commercial space like to entertain me because I had a very big purse. And in there was a lot of money that was spent to renovate floors at a time, as we would call them, restacking and reshuffling. And my responsibility there was to do the conference rooms, auditoriums, training centers, all different types of spaces. In 2008 and 2009, something happened in the industry and in the economy. Everything collapsed. The houses started going underwater. And I, unfortunately, lost my job. And I became obsolete. They said, we don't need AV. We're just going to figure this out. Big old company comes in and says, we can do it without any technicians or any design engineers or any of that sort of stuff. But this is where now we bring up to the social selling. Personal brand is something that I learned very early on. It goes back to my theory of being an advocate for myself because my employers were just kind of like moms and pop shops, right? Everybody had their, how would I put it? When Uncle Tom ran purchasing and Aunt Stephanie ran installations and there was no room for me to move up, so I had to make my own way. And in 2008, 2009, when I lost my job, I posted on LinkedIn because I had signed up about a year before and started using LinkedIn just to kind of just have an online place to put my resume. I posted that I lost my job on a Friday and that I started a new job on a Monday. And this is during the worst economy at the time. Why did I do that and how did it happen? When I lost my job, I had already used my LinkedIn network to kind of network because I knew it was coming. It was The Walking Dead at the time at this pharmaceutical company. We were waiting for the shoe to drop. So what did I do? I started putting out feelers, and the next thing I know, I got offered a job. And when I posted that I lost my job, in the exact words, I lost my job on a Friday, I started a new job on Monday, I'm okay, don't worry, we're good, have a great day, I'll see you on Monday with my new company, and I will announce the new company name. A magazine editor who I had connected with, and I probably was being a nerd and telling him that it's not 60 volt, it's 70 volt speakers, responded and said, hey, how does a technician who has a CTS get a job that quickly? There's a lot of people sitting at home looking for work. And I said I used my LinkedIn and I used my social network. So he said, can you write about it? So I did. I wrote for one of the industry magazines. It wasn't Commercial Integrator, but it was one of those. And it became very popular. So they came back and said, would you do another one? So what could you do? I was an art major at one point in college, and I carried a portfolio. One of the things that we do is have a very hard time explaining what it is that we do to people. So in my portfolio, I carried pictures of touch panels. I blurred out all the IP addresses and the names to protect the innocent. I did all that. I would have good guy emails. I had resume in there, printouts. I had letters of recommendation. I had everything in that leather binder that would get me the job because I'm competitive. And I didn't realize how competitive I was until I walked into an employer's office and they called me a professional interviewer. I said, I don't think that. I want you to understand that I want the job more than the next person and that I'm more qualified. I talked about this earlier today on another panel. I am the certification king. I believe I have to differentiate myself from everybody else. I'm in a competition. You all want my job and I want the job that's above me and we're all gonna fight for it, right? Famous scene from Batman. They throw a knife on the table and say, I have a job for one opening, and 2 people there, fight for it. That was my resume. That's what I was gonna do, right? So, once I put out these 2 or 3 articles, I became a published writer. I never saw myself doing this, and I'll be the first to admit, in college I had help writing papers because I sucked, right? So I take this writing thing, I do a couple things, and one of my fraternity brothers from college said, hey man, you're a published writer, get on Twitter. I said, why? I don't want nobody coming to my house. I don't want stalker things. I don't want to answer I don't want no creepy any of that. No, I don't want none of that. He goes, no. You have to understand at the time, Twitter, people will read your article and want to connect to the person who wrote it. I said, why would anybody want to connect with me, right? Fat kid from Jersey, nobody cares. If you haven't figured out that I'm from Jersey by my accent and that I speak 100 miles an hour, I know Renee's tracking it right now. I am sorry, and I'll try to slow down. So, once I get on Twitter and I start this conversation, people were inquiring, hey, what do you do? I'm like, I'm an AV person who just happened to stumble on writing. So before I even tweeted, I have a paranoia of not being able to do anything without reading. So I bought a book on Twitter. I bought a second book on Twitter, how to tweet, how to do that. I couldn't get through the books because I'm impatient. By the second chapter, every book that I was reading and buying all told me about personal brand. So I'm like, forget how to tweet. I'm gonna learn about this personal brand stuff. And going back to pre-work AV Chris days, I was a DJ. And the only way I was gonna make money is if I filled up a nightclub. And I used to create flyers because I was an art major. And I used to put them, fancy little thing. I used to take a picture, photocopy it, color it, make photocopies, take it to the mall, hand out these flyers at the women's clothing store, talk to the doorman, and I would tell them, I'm DJing tonight, do me a favor. I gave away these passes, they're all free to get in, and a lot of them are gonna be a lot of ladies. I said, but I have this red rope theory that's gonna work. I said, when they come, only let in 2, 3 at a time, and keep the rest outside. Folks, I'm from Jersey Shore. We all have seen those shows, right? They all drive by. Every guy drives by in their Camaro, their IROC, and every other weird car that was back in the 90s, and I know Tim Albright understands what I'm talking about. So you have this thing going on where guys are driving by seeing a row of women trying to get into a nightclub. Creates what's going on inside. That's FOMO. I created FOMO by doing some marketing. So how do I now bring that to the digital world? I own a red rope now. In those years that I've learned how to tweet, in the time that I've done, I now have 15,000 followers on Twitter. I still communicate that every weekend. Do I write? Absolutely. I write. If necessary, I write. I hate it. But writing a blog and posting it on LinkedIn is one of the easiest marketing tactics you can do, right? I also, because of my exposure and putting myself out there, became friends with a person like a Tim Albright, who runs AV Nation, who at the time gave me my first shot on a podcast. And it was audio only back then, and we used a program called Skype, if y'all remember that. And the audio only podcast version of that was very cool and very interesting. As a matter of fact, I just went to a podcast movement. It's an event down in DC, And it was weird because I'm an AV person. There's a capital A and a capital V in AV, and they don't like the V side of our business. So they throw away their video, and I found it shocking because I'm sitting here going, how can you not be in the video portion of this if you're going to do it? But that's a whole other conversation for you guys. So how do you use this? You may not have 15,000 followers on Twitter, but you can develop that over time, and you can develop that on LinkedIn. And understanding LinkedIn is something that I got to understand very quickly. There's an algorithm to all the social network sites. And if you can tap into it, I can give you some ideas of what to do, but there are very simple tactics that you can use. And it doesn't matter if you're a small business or if you are an entrepreneur or if you work for corporate. I work for corporate. I've always worked for somebody. The hardest thing to explain to people is that I own my own brand. That's hard when you work for a big conglomerate like a pharmaceutical company. They didn't care. They just didn't want me using their name. You can go work for any AV integrator, and if they tell you we like to control the social media that is going on, if you are a business owner and you're telling that to your client, to your people that work for you, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's free marketing. On Twitter and on LinkedIn, if you hit the right streams, you will have multiple impressions. Now, y'all can say, well, I only want to be in the area of, Newark, New Jersey, for example. I don't know why you would want to do that, but if that's your thing, so be it. You can target Newark, New Jersey, and that's where you want to do business. Great. But I'm a fan of just dropping the flyers from the airplane, and wherever they land, and you can get people to start talking, and that's what's important. A connection in St. Louis led to me talking to somebody else in New York, which got me to Florida, which got me to London. I can trace those back from a picture, a tweet, and post, whatever. So from your business side, go to your marketing folks. If you have marketing folks internal that do your social, work with the marketing folks and let them and teach your folks how to use LinkedIn. Why? Say you win a big project, you win a big home, right? How else are you going to build trust to your future customers? It's published, right? Let's think about social media in a different way. Social media is a digital footprint. People will tell you that. Once it's posted online, it lives forever. So why don't you post something that will live forever, that will be beneficial to you and to your business? Take the photos of those homes. Do a case study of that home. Have your initial post come out from your LinkedIn, from your XYZ AV company. And from there, let that go to your network. Your network should include all your employees who should be liking and commenting. Because one of the tricks of the LinkedIn algorithm, it's not just to go there and like it or repost. The key is you need to start being active, or your marketing folks need to be active, and the interaction is what drives the algorithm more than anything else. And just to be clear, I don't understand numbers. I'm not that kind of nerd. I'm a different type of nerd. But the algorithms are words that you're going to hear me say a lot in this conversation, because that's what dominates what goes viral. You could do dancing videos if that's your thing. I still have not figured that out, and I was told not to do that by my 19-year-old daughter. So I won't go there. But you can take TikTok videos of the projects that you're working on, before, during, after. Show the process. The most successful videos that I have that have led to conversations. My most successful, I'll start at the top. Most successful was a picture of me with a bunch of technicians sitting around eating pizza with using a spool of cable as a table. Why did that become popular? Not that I'm anybody famous, but at the time, as a consultant, consultants in New York City were not known for being hands-on. They were not known for being on-site. They were definitely not known for wearing sheetrock dust on them, and they didn't eat pizza with the common folk, I guess. So I appealed to a different audience. Another thing that you can do with your pictures, and by the way, your pictures, if you're using pictures, cell phone pictures. Why? The LinkedIn algorithm will look at an original picture and be able to tell that it's original based on the file name and a couple of things that are inside that, and it will allow you to go further on your LinkedIn posts. Because it's a cell phone picture, it's an original picture, it can see that it's coming from that, and it will actually help move the things along. Pictures and video on LinkedIn jump up to the searches, right? There's one other thing about LinkedIn that you guys need to know. The parent company of LinkedIn is Microsoft. Microsoft is also part of the Bing search engine. It's a search engine. When you guys talk to marketing folks and they constantly talk about SEO, that's Google search, right? They all work together, even though they don't like each other, but they all work together. And that sort of stuff is what's invaluable. You can pay a marketing organization or a marketing agency to do it for you, or you can do these things by yourself and test and see how it works. The next thing you can do to upgrade your personal brand and to help with your business, find the podcasts that are out there talking about AV integration. There's 1,000 of them. Resi Week on AV Nation TV is one. AV Week for the commercial side. There's multiple. Even the magazines have now all got into their form of live and video content. All you have to do is say, hey, I'm a business owner, I'm a marketing person, I'm a salesperson, I'm a very smart person, I would like to be a guest. All it takes is an hour for you to be a guest. And if you are a senior technician and you want to move up, go ahead and do it. Then tell your boss, by the way, I'll be on AV Week this week. What's that? It's a podcast, and this is what it's going to do, and it has reach. How many? I can ask the gentleman, he's sitting in the audience right now, what his reach is for that company, but most of these guys will tell you what their reach are. So you're doing exposure. You're taking cell phone pictures, and you're taking pictures of yourself, taking, pictures of your work and yourself maybe covered in some sheetrock. It seems pretty easy. It doesn't seem very hard. It's not. It is consistency that will get you to the next level. I consistently do it every day, every week, and I'm limiting on how many posts I do on my social networks. One a day, sometimes just twice a week. But I guess if I'm going to tell you my story, the other part to my story is something that I did by accident. Because good things do come out of social. It's not just bad. One Sunday morning, I got up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm a dad. My kids it's about 6 years ago. So my kids were a little younger. I would get up on Sundays and I'd make breakfast and I'd let my wife sleep, and the kids were kind of like rumbling. So I'd get up, I like to cook, I was making breakfast, made a cup of coffee, and what do? I bring out my phone and I start looking at my Twitter tweets and see what's going on. In the world of Twitter and in the world of LinkedIn, I can give you the hashtags. You can start with one called hashtag AVTweeps. That is where most AV conversations are found. That's hashtag AVTWEEPS. That's very basic. You look at that. Hashtags, by the way, if nobody's ever explained to you what a hashtag is, it's a filing system. It's a way to find information easier on the search bars. So going back to making breakfast, my breakfast was not elaborate. I think I was making something maybe like eggs, something not fancy. Make my cup of coffee. I'm a nerd, so I have my Star Wars mug. I'm going to put my Star Wars mug out there, wish people good morning. And I did. When I posted that picture of my mug and my Keurig and I said good morning, I then proceeded to answer a question regarding Alexa in the corporate space. And I hope somebody's Alexas just went off in the background, because that's always fun. So when I do that, I get somebody responds right away, and they're like, there's no way that Alexa's ever going to be in the corporate space. It's more for the residential. Don't even bother going there. And I answered one of the rebuttals. I said, tell that to the iPhone. That was never intended to be in the corporate space to begin with. And they are now adopted. Some CEO who has it at a house that a residential integrator is integrating it into will ask for that to happen. Has it happened? I'm sure. I'm not aware of it. But more people started joining in on this conversation. By the end of the day, by afternoon, it went on for about 2-3 hours of back and forth, because you can't talk about Alexa on any of these things, especially on a Twitter, without all the IT nerds and security nerds coming into the conversation about, oh, you're never going to have this past corporate security. I can give you a lesson on that if you guys want, but that will be boring. I don't like talking about IT. IT is not AV. That's another way to trigger some people. So one of the things that I found out was that there's an audience at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sundays. I thought it was dads. Turned out it was more than just dads. It was dads and moms getting ready for church. It was dads that are about to be getting ready for a soccer game with little kids, and they just happen to check out their Twitter. By the second week, I did the same thing. Took a picture of my coffee cup, put it out there, said, hey, good morning. Immediately, what are we talking about today? So I realized I had something. By the third week, I created a hashtag called AV in the AM. By the fourth week, I went to Fiverr and I spent $5 because I'm cheap and got a logo of a coffee cup that says nothing but AV on it, just a coffee cup, and it said 100% organic AV chat. So what did I do? I gave people a way to find the chat, and I gave them a symbol. The minute you give somebody a symbol is what they want. Your corporate logo is your symbol. I don't have a corporation. I'm just a Twitter tweet, whatever you want to call it. But the minute I did that, I unified it. And by unifying that crowd, or the people that were there, and at the time it could have been just maybe 5, 10 people, it developed into a community. 6 years later, I'm averaging anywhere from 5 to 7 million impressions on a Sunday. And that's from conversations of very boring AV stuff. And I've changed it up. I'll do conversations about business. I want to know about career development. I want to ask, you know, where are we today in the smart building? That's a loaded question. We are never going to be anywhere with smart buildings because of other systems that are playing in there. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that experimentation, trial and error, it works. There's some folks in here that may know me for what I do online, but when it's quiet, I will even go off the grid and not do AV. And I'm going to teach you a secret that I do just to get the conversation started. How many folks here drive a very expensive car? I mean, by your terms, like I'm talking like a Bugatti, Ferrari, just Tim Albright? Okay. So how many people like pizza? Who's eaten pizza? Who's eaten pizza with pineapple? I'll unfriend every single one of you right now. Why did I just do that exercise? Again, now you've known that I've been a DJ, and then I went to school for broadcast communications. But back before I went to college, I was in the pizza business. My family was in the business, so I learned how to flip pizzas. And I learned you want to learn about customer service? Serve a dollar slice to people. I could never get it right. It was never hot enough, never cold enough. I was ready for AV because the screen was never big enough, the projector was never bright enough, the sound was never loud enough. Same situation. So let's go back to pizza. When I don't have anything to talk about, I set a fire. How many people here want pineapple on pizza? And I had people say, I love it, I hate it. Well, I told them I would unfriend them. So I started unfriending people. People got upset. Why? The key or the whole point to the pineapple on pizza conversation, and you're all tech heads here, so you're not jiving with this. The reason why I brought that up and the reason why I use it is because everybody can create an opinion on a pizza. It costs you $2 to get a slice, depending on what state you're in, and maybe an extra $1 for the pineapple. And you can quickly form an opinion whether you like it or not, and there's no in between. You either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. But what I did with pineapple on pizza, you need to find the common ground with your audience. And your audience are your customers. They're your vendor partners, your manufacturers who sell into you, right? You'll be amazed what a post on social media can do if you're now in there giving people you know what? The best control system I ever used was X, Y, Z. Your manufacturer is going to reach out to you and send you swag the next day, right? You want to fund those shirts that have the nice, cool logo on the sleeve and something? Say something nice about the speakers that you used on an install. They will go nuts. Why? You are the best marketing for the manufacturers that you're selling, and it goes back and forth. So don't be afraid to do that. And when it comes to LinkedIn and to Twitter, and you're saying, I've never sold anything, or how'd you do it? I answered a question. During the pandemic, we had this thing where we couldn't get product. It was going rampant. One of the things that was just, I happened to get in a conversation with, was that 70-volt transformers was not something that you can find very often. So that meant speaker manufacturers, with a ton of them in here, they couldn't get their 70-volt transformers. So somebody who I knew was in the AV community online posted, hey, where can I get speakers because every manufacturer I'm going to doesn't have it? Well, guess what? I did. As a distributor, I went ahead and said, hey, Who is the partners that you work with? I handed a purchase order to that integrator for 150 pairs of speakers because I knew where to find them, but nobody else was watching and nobody else was listening. Part of social media is as much putting out as much as it is reading and paying attention to that. You will see trends pop up on social that you don't expect. Mark did a very nice job up here of giving you the trends. 90% of what Mark said is very trendy. You don't have to be Mark to understand that those trends are happening because they're out there. People are voicing complaints online about why their sound system in their house are bad or what is missing from their house. They're telling you their problems. We as AV people like to throw technology at things to kind of solve problems, which is how we get paid, right? But one thing that we have to get back to is the root of everything, which is you're providing a solution. There's a problem and you can provide a solution. What that solution may be may not necessarily be physical technical stuff, but it could be just answering the question. So it's as much listening, social listening, as it is social selling and social, everything else that's involved with social media. If you walk away from here today, like this woman is right now, I hope you have a great day. You're missing the best part. I know. It's okay, you're forgiven. Okay, I don't know. All right. So one of the things that you have to understand about doing social media, it's a long game. It's something that's not going to happen overnight. But if you don't start, you'll never know how it works. There are opportunities on LinkedIn for you to sell. Your customers are watching you because they will go to LinkedIn to review your business. If you show the latest install that you're doing, great. If you are a manufacturer and you're showing your latest products, awesome, right? Use LinkedIn for its power. It is a massive network, and it interweaves into everything, including the search engines. Provide the pictures, provide videos, do something that stands out. If you want to talk about pineapple on pizza, not really LinkedIn appropriate, but I'm sure that will actually get you a lot of views because people wonder why you're talking about pizza on LinkedIn. That's another way to do it. But one of the things that I'm going to tell you about social, have your rules, have your setup. Things that I learned very early on. I don't like talking about race, sex, politics. I'm from New York, so there's times where I can't talk about the sports teams that I follow because people in Philadelphia get really mad, and people in Boston too for some reason. Set your boundaries of what you want to talk about, what don't want to talk about, equally as important, and jump in. You will find that the cost to do that is minimal. It's a cell phone picture. It's your technicians now getting into the mind frame as they're building and installing. You know what? As you're pulling that wire through the conduit, take a before and after. Show me how it's done. Go into your shops where the guys are actually doing the soldering and maybe do a quick 30-second video for TikTok of how to solder. It's a lost art, honestly. People coming out of college these days don't even want to burn their fingers on a soldering iron anymore, so try that, right? You're installing a wall-mounted TV. Show it. Rip the old one out. Why are you replacing it? How are you fixing it? Give that to people. You're not giving away any trade secrets. Folks, everybody can install a TV. You may install it nicer, but your brand is installing it in 5 minutes. They're not going to have speed. Your brand is that you've been able to monetize how to do 150 wall mounts in less than a day. That is what you're selling. Give away how to do it. Give away information freely. It shouldn't be a problem. And that's what social media really is. The most popular videos and anything that you're going to post up on any of those channels is going to be how-to videos. People, and if y'all, I'm serious, how many people just turn on YouTube to learn something because they don't know how to bake or don't know how to cook or don't know how to do something? I can't bake for the life of me, and I love cooking, but baking is science. I can't do that, right? I go to YouTube, right? So show them. Give away the recipes. There's an entire network on television called the Food Network. They show you how to cook. They are world-renowned chefs that are showing you how to cook their meals. You'll still go to their restaurants. Bobby Flay is doing very well by giving away his recipes. Do not be afraid to give away the recipe. Just do it and have your twist and spin on things. That's yours. That's what's proprietary, right? So I guess in closing, please look at what you're doing, Go to your marketing folks. Marketing will have to operate much, much faster. You cannot sit and wait for a graphic that will take a week to do. There are websites that will actually create these graphics for 20 bucks if you need them done very fast. All about speed and being able to put it out there when the trend is hitting, right? We are going into election season. Please do not get into the political side of the conversations. But use terms like vote. It will be searched a lot over the next few months. Use that in your posts, highlight it as a hashtag. People will automatically go into vote looking for other things, and they stumble across your things. That may be the customer that you get inadvertently. Happy accidents. It's a good thing. Bob Ross and the Happy Little Trees were into things back then. There's no such thing as an accident. It's great. So all I ask is that you take some pictures, take some videos, talk to your marketing folks. If you don't have marketing folks, assign somebody. Not necessarily, somebody who is going to be spending an entire, a month trying to come up with an idea. Start today. Put a picture that you're at CEDIA. Use CIX24 for the commercial side. Use CEDIA, #CEDIA Expo for this one. Post it up. When you post it on LinkedIn, say that you were here. Why? Why are you here? You're here for one reason. You're here because you want to see new products. But what it also does is it also gives you street credibility. You were at the show that everybody goes that is in the business. And that is equally as important as finding that technology that you will find in these hallways. So use that. Show people that you have street cred. I have imposter syndrome. I talk on these stages a lot. And usually it's with to my right will be the CEO and founder of a billion-dollar company, and the guy next to me has got 15 patents. And again, I'm still the fat kid from Jersey, not knowing why I'm up here. But I can talk and I can bring an audience, so that's my shtick. And you're more than happy to take that idea if you want. But that's it. That's what I do. My name's Chris Neto, and if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I am Chris Neto, CTS on LinkedIn, and I'm on Twitter at Chris_Neto. If you want to find out more about AV in the AM, I would say wake up on Sundays, but I do not wish that on anybody at 8 o'clock in the morning. I am psycho. I do not recommend that, but it's #AV in the AM. I do have some swag from the AV in the AM, so I can hand it out a little bit, but I thank you all for coming and for being part of the audience. Have a great show.